Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back, and today I'm going to be talking about my reading experience while reading City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Now, yes, hold book up. City of Bones by Cassandra Clare I read as part of my Reading Booktube Darlings project. So I posted a video last week, I decided that I'm going to read 5 Booktube Darlings and I'm going to document my experience reading each one, seeing if they're worth the hype, what I thought of them, etc. So if you've already seen, which I'm sure you have, I posted a vlog of my experience reading City of Bones, and that is very, very spoiler filled. I talked about everything as I'm reading it. It was like real time as I was reading it. I pick up my phone and record my thoughts or feelings as I was reading it. This is a non-spoiler talk about my experience reading City of Bones, so there'll be no spoilers for the book here for people who haven't read it, don't want spoilers, what have you. So City of Bones, absolutely loved it. Rated it 4 stars. I was very nervous going into it. It's just so hyped and everybody talks about it so much, and it's either people love it or they fucking hate it and think it's absolute trash. And with that, I was just like, and most people who are talking about it are very big fans of young adult books, or that's mostly predominantly what they read. They don't read a lot of adult, and for me, I'm like, well, I read a mix of both. I read more adult than I do YA, but I do read both, and I'm not going, I don't think I'm going to like this. I mean, I knew it was supernatural involved-ish, but, like, nobody ever talks about the plot of the books. Everything I've watched, like, with Emma, because Emma reads, like, City of Bones and Cassandra Clare, like, the whole Mortal Instruments and Shadowhunter series are her absolute favorite things in the entire world. Even Melanie at Melts the Ennie, she read them all last year. Nobody talks about the plot of these books. It's all, oh, it's about the Shadowhunters, and they always talk about the characters, but they never talk about the plot or what they do, or, like, I had no idea what a Shadowhunter even was, just from watching videos. Nobody ever talked about it. They never said, oh, they're abducted. Nope. It's just, oh, these people got together, and oh, these people got together, and all about the coupling and the relationships. It was never about the actual plot. So part of me is like, well, is there these character-driven stories that's all it's about, or is there an actual, like, decent plot that I'm going to want to follow? And eventually, the curiosity just got the best of me. I was rewatching Buffy, I was rereading the Sookie Stackhouse series, and so I decided to do it. So I read City of Bones, and it was great. So, if you want to know what this actually is about, like an actual synopsis, City of Bones is book 1 of the Mortal Instruments series. So Cassandra Clare has created this whole universe, and there's like different trilogies in each one. So there is the Mortal Instruments, which is actually 6 books. She wrote the first 3, and then she wrote 4 through 6 a little later. And then there's the Infernal Devices, which is like a prequel trilogy to City of Bones. They recommend that you read the Infernal Devices before you read at least book 6 in the Mortal Instruments. It's all confusing. And then there's another one called the Dark Artifices, which takes place after the events of the Mortal Instrument series. Hope you're still with me. So this is, like, unabashedly book 1, unless you want to read the Infernal Devices, which is the prequels before. But from what I understand, it's not a good idea because they reference things from the Mortal Instruments, since they were written after the Mortal Instruments, and you might not understand certain things. So, book 1. I started book 1. This story is about a girl named Clary, or Clarissa, but she goes by Clary, and her mom goes missing. So she's just a normal, everyday girl. She lives in New York City. She's 15. I believe the start of the book she's 15, and turns 16. She's 15 years old. She hangs out a lot with her best friend Simon, who is, you know, totally unabashedly in love with her. You can tell from the first time you meet him. And of course it's unrequited. But with her, like, it's just, she's an everyday teen, and one day she goes to this teenage nightclub, and she sees these people sneak off into, like, a side closet or whatever, and so she follows them because she thought it looked weird or thought somebody was going to get hurt. And there she meets 3 shadow hunters, Isabel, Jace, and Alec, and she watches them kill a demon. Now, a shadow hunter is somebody who kills demons. That's what they do. They're kind of, and that's why it reminds me a lot of Buffy. They kill things they call them downworlders, but underworld things. So anything that is going to harm humans, which most of them are demons. There's also mentions of vampires and werewolves in here, which they tend to leave alone because they are partly human, and they weren't made from another dimension. They're not a demon. They are partly human, so they don't kill them unless they, you know, break some rules or whatever. So she meets these people, and they're shocked because she can see them, because they make themselves invisible so everyday mundanes or humans can't see them. So in this world, regular everyday humans are called mundanes, kind of like in the Harry Potter world, they're called muggles. And so they're curious, why can you see us? So they take her back to the Institute, which is like, it's being out of an old church, and it's where they live and have all their weapons and study and do all this stuff, to talk to the person who's in charge, the adult in charge, Hodge, to figure out how does she know, how can she see us? In the meantime, while this is happening, her mother Jocelyn goes missing, and she calls her and she hears like her get taken or something like that. And so this book turns into trying to figure out why Clary can see them, and is she a part of this world and doesn't know it, and trying to find her mom Jocelyn. And so that's kind of gets your core, and then the story goes from there. I hope that synopsis kind of made sense. That to me was very intriguing. Okay, we're in a universe where you have Shadowhunters that are a lot stuff. They're a lot like how Buffy is, kills demons, kills things that are evil and not supposed to be there, protecting humans. All for that. All right, let's go. Now, the only problems I had with this book is the first about 300 pages. This is an almost 500-page book. The first 300 pages were slow, and not in the slow where you're just like, okay, I'm slogging through them. They're slow in the point that nothing really happens to further the plot, but stuff is still happening that's interesting and engaging and makes you want to turn the pages, if that makes sense. So they were doing a whole bunch of little side things that had nothing to do with finding her mom. So the whole point of this book is finding Jocelyn, Clary's mom, and figure out how Clary can see them and whether or not she is actually a shadow hunter and doesn't know it, or, you know, and stuff like that. Trying to figure out what's the deal with Clary, finding Clary's mom. That is the plot of book 1. We don't even start going to find out or to go find Jocelyn until after we're 300 pages in. I mean, granted, they do find a little bit more out about Clary, but not much. It's just kind of like happenstance. I mean, they spent, what was it, like 75 pages going after Simon, because Simon got turned into a rat and the vampires took him, thinking that, you know, oh, he's one of ours. And they spent 75 pages going to rescue him. I guess that's kind of a small spoiler, but has nothing to do with the main plot line. That's just like a little side thing they go do that really has no bearing on the plot, the main plot at all. There is a villain, which I mentioned in the spoilers, but the villain you don't really know outright, so I'm not going to say anything about them here, because if I do, it might spoil some things, I guess, kind of. I mean, it's hard, because the villain, I mean, this person is talked about when they're at the Institute, but it's not like, we know who took your mom, and it's like they're trying to figure out exactly who took her and why. And that is that unravels a lot as you're reading, so to me it's kind of a spoiler. But, I mean, it was good, and the stuff that was happening between there, like, we get to know Alec, Isabel, and Jace a little bit more, and their history a little bit more. Clary's starting to learn more about herself, but nothing really happens until about 300 pages in or so. Yeah, about 300, 350, and then shit hits the fan and all this crazy stuff happens, and it's like, okay, here we go. Now we're really getting into it. And I didn't feel rushed at the end. I mean, everything was fine. It just seems like she drug it out a lot. Like, this book could have been 300 pages, not 500, if Cassandra Clare would have just gotten to the point. The only thing is, in those 300 pages of meandering and not doing anything, she developed a lot of world building. Like, we learned a lot about the Shadowhunters, like where they come from, how they were made. Like, you learn a lot about that. That didn't feel like an info dump. Because a lot of times, if you're in a fantasy of any kind, you get a huge info dump of the world that lasts like a chapter or two, and it's literally just paragraphs of descriptions, you know, backstory, history, all that stuff. Cassandra Clare didn't do that. Because she took 300 pages meandering around with the characters, you kind of got to know the characters and about the world that she was building along with Clary. So I did like that, and that there was stuff happening so that it wasn't boring, but it didn't further the plot either. But it wasn't boring, and we didn't get an info dump. So I really appreciate that that's the route she took, because especially in fantasy and a lot of times in YA, you just get a big old info dump, and the authors don't really work to, like, you know, weave it into the story, and she did, and I really appreciate that. As for the characters, I don't like Clary. Clary is really annoying. She's not terrible. I mean, she could have been a lot worse, but Clary's one of those characters where she's just fucking stupid. It's like everything is kind of laid out for her, like where she should be able to figure it out, like she should be a bright girl and figure it out, but everything's, she's just like, what do you mean? Like really flighty and dumb. I can't stand that. Jace is an interesting character. I know some people love him and some people hate him. I liked Jace. He was kind of like one of those douchey guys that I'm sure this is exactly what it is, and it kind of was, because after getting towards the end of this book, you get a little more insight into Jace. Jace is one of those characters that he kind of has the appearance of being a douchebag, but it's hard because he's one of those guys that has the lines like this. Well, if you just wanted me to take my clothes off, you should have just asked. You know, like, where it's just like, really, come on, man. Like, it's not to where, and you know, it's like, he's not a bad boy, but it's like, he's one of those guys that puts off that douchey, confident air, but you know, deep down, he has a lot of feelings, and he's been through some shit. It's like, and you can see that. I mean, it's so plain as day. There's no hiding that. Granted, in 2007, when this was written, I mean, it probably wasn't as common of a trope as it is now, but that's just like, oh man, okay. But I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, I could get through it. There is Isabel, and Isabel is, she's a shadow hunter as well, and she's interesting. She's your typical, like, gorgeous but snarky bitchy, but you kind of want to be her best friend kind of character, and I really enjoyed her. Her brother Alec is, you don't get as much Alec. I know he plays a huge part in the other books. Like, Alec is a very consistent person. But I guess this is kind of a mini spoiler, which I don't think it really is. Alec is gay, and you're told about midway through the book, but I didn't like his reveal of being gay. I do love that she was openly had a gay character in her book, and it, you know, especially back then, you know, I had no qualms about it. The only problem is how he was, you know, not how it was told that he was gay. Like, he shows no signs of being gay, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but like, not to say that he needs to be that stereotype where he's all, oh my god, nothing like that. But there was nothing to indicate he was gay. You don't see him kissing another guy. You don't see him flirting with another guy. You don't see any indication like that where you go, oh, is he gay maybe, or bi, or, you know, where it makes you question, like, that he's not just cis straight. We don't get any of that. And the only thing that I saw, well, there was a scene where the four of them were eating in the diner. So you got Clary, Jace, Isabel, and Alec, and they're eating in a diner, and they're talking about something, and Clary notices the way that Alec is paying attention to Jace, like really into what he's saying and stuff like that. That would be like the only hint where I go, oh, maybe he's gay, maybe he's in love with Jace. That's the only hint, but it's not very overt. Like, you'd have to really be looking for it to jump to that assumption. But apparently, Clary, who can't see that her best friend for like 12 years or whatever, Simon, who is clearly in love with her, and it's from the second the book opens, in their first conversation, you can tell that Simon is head over heels in love with Clary. It is so blatant. Clary can't see that Simon has been in love with her for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, however long, but she sees Alec interact with Jace one time and she can tell that he's gay. I just find it hard to believe. Like, you're so not in tune to that, but you're in tune to this. Like, that part was just kind of unbelievable. She doesn't out Alec to his face, which I really appreciate. She asks his sister Isabel, hey, is Alec gay? And the way it's handled is okay. She goes, yes, he is, but please don't tell anybody. Like, that's frowned upon as a shadow hunter and stuff like that, which that really sucks. But then again, this book is also, 12 years old? So, you know, back then, being out wasn't as, it was still fine back then. Like, in 2007, I don't remember anything being, being out wasn't bad. But we progressed. It's gotten better. So, just her having an openly gay person on the page was very, very nice. But those are the main four. Or no, I guess Simon. You have Simon. Also don't care for Simon. I wish he would just go away. Simon is the obvious third peg on the love triangle between Clary and Jace. You know Clary and Jace are going to be a thing. Simon is just clearly the third wheel so that you make the nice little love triangle so that, who's she going to pick? Who's she going to pick? Well, okay, if the girl from the beginning doesn't know that Simon's in love with her, she obviously doesn't have feelings for him. But gotta have that love triangle in there. We gotta keep this, on par YA. But it wasn't super bad. I still enjoyed it. Like, I absolutely loved the story. And, I just wanted to keep reading. Now, the romantic stuff between the characters, because there's quite a few. That didn't really keep me reading as much. I loved the tension between Jace and Clary a little bit. I mean, it was pretty decent. But for me, it was, I wanted the plot. I want to know more about this world. That's what kept me going. Like, I want to find the villain. Like, where is he? Where did he go? Like, who has Jocelyn? We got to find her. What's the deal, like, with the history? That's what kept me reading more than, oh my god, are they going to kiss? Like, I'm 35, not 15. Like, I wanted to know about the world. And she's doing a fantastic job building this world. Now, it wasn't as tropey as I thought it was going to be. That did really surprise me. I did like her writing style. It's very, very, very easy to read. Her writing style is so easy to read. The font is pretty big in all these books too, but it just flowed super, super well. Turning the pages, like, I couldn't stop. Like, I was at work and I couldn't wait to come home to keep reading. Granted, it did take me a week to read because I ended up getting really busy in the week. But it's fantastic. I can't wait until the other books to get here. I also ordered the next 5 books in the series. I mentioned this in the vlog. Yeah. Matt, my husband, got me a $100 gift card for our anniversary to Barnes & Noble, and I spent it on Cassandra Clare. Entirely on Cassandra Clare. I got City of Ashes and City of Glass, which are the next 2 in the first trilogy, and then I got the entire Infernal Devices, which is the prequel trilogy. That is Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. They are the prequel, and so I got those as well. So yeah, it's safe to say I'm going to be continuing on in the series. This was a complete win in my little start of the experiment. 4 stars for City of Bones. I guess I should 4 stars, complete win. I'm really glad I started with this one because this is giving me hope, like, that this experiment's going to go well. This, to me, is completely worth the hype. Granted, it's not everybody's cup of tea. It does read very teenagery. It does read very YA. Like I said, there are a couple of tropes in here. They didn't bother me that much. They were done decently well. They were done decently well. So it wasn't like super disgusting. They were done decently well. So if you want to take a chance, I would say go ahead. But just know, like, if you need to be a fan of like Buffy or Supernatural or something like that, because this is very supernatural, paranormal, romance, like, with the setting and the Shadowhunters and what they do. There is teenage romance, of course. It's a YA book. And just know that going in. But I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the story. I love where she's going with it. I really honestly can't wait to carry on. And I can't believe I fucking am turning into Shadowhunter trash. Like, I've only read 1 book and I can't. I remember a coworker of mine had given me City of Bones to read about 5 or 6 years ago, and I just never picked it up. I read the synopsis. I'm like, well, this looks kind of stupid. And I, like, literally, and this is way before I was ever on Booktube or even watched Booktube, and I just didn't pick it up. And I gave it back to her. And, yeah, now here we are now. I feel kind of silly. But I absolutely loved it, and I'm so glad I decided to do this challenge. And I also think for future, I'm going to do kind of the same thing. I'll do a vlog reading it. That'll be full of spoilers for people who want to watch that. And a kind of a wrap-up like I'm doing right here so that people who don't want spoilers can still get my thoughts without having to be spoiled on a book that they might possibly want to read. But yeah, I absolutely enjoyed this experience, guys. Like, vlogging my experience was so much fun. It was really fun to, like, even editing it took fucking forever. But it was still fun even in editing to, like, remember, like, my thought process. Like, in the beginning, be like, oh, no, bitch, you were wrong. You know, just, you know, wait till you get to the end. That part was really fun, like, in editing, like, watching and that's the kind of, like, the hope I get for people who watch the vlog, who have read the book, being like, nope, you're wrong, sis, just wait. Like that. And I like reading or watching reading vlogs that are like that when somebody's reading a book for the first time and it's full of spoilers, so that you can, you know, get their, you know, and be able to talk to the TV and be like, nope, nope, nope. But anyways, yeah, guys, that's it. That was my experience reading City of Bones. 4 stars, highly recommend it if you don't mind jumping into the YA pool with a whole bunch of supernatural stuff in it. But that's it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.